taking that piece of flesh from the market movement and stopping. You can't break any rules. He did, what's today, Friday? Thursday, he had a trade on after 4 o'clock. And apparently there's a rule that they say you can't trade after 4 o'clock. Like, you got to close your trades at 4 o'clock. And he did well. And went to target, set through something, and went right to his target, and then found out that didn't matter. He had to do a reset because he broke a rule about time. Listen, folks, trading in itself, okay? Trading in itself is very, very difficult to learn in the beginning. And for you all out here that are trying to rush into these funded account challenges, you're increasing the level of difficulty when you don't have a model, you don't trade with real risk management, real risk and trade management. I don't care what size account that you have with any of them. If you just trade with one contract, you'll never break their rules and you'll make money. But greed and impatience. I got to get through step 1. I got to do it. It says I can do it in 5 days. I got to do it. The rule was spend up to 2 weeks. Don't listen to that. It says you can trade 15 contracts. Don't listen to that. What makes this very, very hard for a new trader is the level of drawdown that they permit is stupid. Now, today, because my son was basically looking at me like, this is impossible. Like, it's impossible. So I had to step in, Mr. Possible. I said, listen, let's take a look at what's going on this morning, okay? You've been doing everything wrong. Let's just go back to this piece of paper here, and what does it say to do? All right, with that, I want to do this. All right, we'll do what you want to do as long as it agrees with what's on this paper. Do you agree? Okay. So I guided. I said, now look at this right here. Do you see the chart showing you this? Do you see that news at 8:30 caused this movement, and at 10 o'clock, we're expecting it to run again? It's going to do what? Well, you as my students know that I was looking for 4180 in ES. I wanted to see it trade there, and how it traded there would tell me how we close the week. So we sat there, we watched it spike up, watched it work through 4177, NASDAQ plummeting, dollar raging higher. I said, now you have a setup. And suddenly, all the planets aligned. And immediately, just underneath 36% of the $9,000 that he's supposed to get before he's quote unquote funded falls into his step 1 phase equity. Now, I don't know how this works because, like I said, I've never had a real interest in it. But apparently they have a rule, or this particular company has a rule, where you can't have more than 40% of the 9,000 made in one day. So I'm assuming if you were to make more money, and I'm saying this facetious because I don't know, but if that's true, like if you make more than 40% of the 9,000 in one day, does that fail you? Does that like cause you to break a rule, or they just don't count that and you just got to keep moving? I don't know. But I plan on reading through all the stuff so that way I can sit down with him, and hopefully next week he'll do better than he's been doing. But today I told him this is what you're looking for, and when you see it, push the button. I'd like to say that was enough to satisfy him. But no. No. In some ways, it felt like that bolstered the willingness to want to do his own way. Like he somehow saw something new. He learned something new from that. And therefore, that piece of paper that has a simple set of rules that he has to follow need not be concerned with. So what is he exhibiting? A character flaw. Those of you that learn from me and you don't listen to what I'm telling you to do, follow the bias that I'm outlining, this is where I think the market's going to go, and you're fading that. And then crying, sending emails, posting things on Twitter, complaining to other people in videos about me, when you're doing everything opposite, and then struggling, and then trying to find the blame on me or something outside of yourself. That's nonsense. You have to snap out of it. You have to snap. You can't do those things. Number one, the world isn't going to let you do that. You'll have a rude awakening. You can lie to yourself in your trading, but eventually you're going to have to see that person in the mirror, and it's going to hurt when you have to come to grips with you're burning it down. You're the one holding the gasoline. You're the one who has the lighter in your hand. You're doing it. Each time you're doing that, you're causing that fire that causes more damage, and everything has to be rebuilt all over again from scratch. But it's not just a reset. You're bringing something new each time. Depression, fear, concern of how many more you can afford, all those things you're bringing into that new reset. It's not just $99 anymore, is it? It's really expensive. Really expensive. And each time, it's going to get harder and harder. Because at some point, you're going to start doing the math on how much money you've thrown into resets and how far you're behind. See, when you first start, if you're new, you've never really put any money in the marketplace, the idea seems novel. It's wonderful. Like, hey, wow, this is an opportunity for me to go in here and not really use any of my money. And then suddenly you discover you put a whole lot of your own money into it, one reset at a time. Every new monthly due payment, and you want the maximum. So you want to give them $400 a month while doing nothing right. And you build up a list of resets, each one costing about $100, and not making anything. Not even getting to step 2, where you're considered funded. All that money being wasted, all that time being wasted, and all of that scar tissue being created in your subconscious about what it is that makes you a trader. And it's interesting. It's almost impossible for you to recognize that what you're doing is wrong. You're telling yourself what you're doing is right. It just has to be done longer and it'll start working. If you just recalibrated that tenacity, that hoopfa, that moxie, that thing that just says, I don't care, I'm doing this. If you applied that to a model that works with sound logic, you're invincible. You're invincible. Doesn't mean you won't have losing trades. It means even with losing trades, you're not going to deviate. You're going to stick to what works. It's proven itself to you. The back testing has proven it. I have proven it. I've shown live, this is what it's going to do, and it does it. This is what time it's going to form, and it does. But if you're not going to reach for that logic, and what you're doing is costing you money and resetting and frustration and becoming more and more agitated by not following the rules, imagine what would happen if you started following the rules. If you just simply did what you were told to do, how much easier would it become? At some point, you're going to have a whole pile of ashes, and you'll be sitting there looking at all the things that you've wasted time, energy, and money. And when you really sift through those ashes and honestly see what you've done, you really didn't use what I taught. You really didn't listen to the lectures and the advice about what not to do and what to do. You really didn't do that. But hey, look at that pile of ashes you got. You were doing something. You weren't wasting time studying, right? You were doing something. And the something you were doing wasn't profitable. And that weighs on you subconsciously, and over time, it'll make you toxic. And you'll start being spiteful. Not to yourself. You won't hold yourself accountable, but you'll point the finger at everyone else. Your friends, your family, me, our community, trading in general. Because it hurts too much to identify the fact that you did this to yourself. Nobody guided you incorrectly. You did everything wrong and you made those decisions. Are you in a position to be accountable for that? Where you can say, yep, if I'm being honest, I made those mistakes on my own. Nobody told me to do that. I did it on my own. Because that's what a trader is. It's a person that says, I own my results. Good or bad, I can live with myself because I'm following a model. I have a rule-based idea that I'm going to stick to that allows me to be objective. I'm not going to be swayed by my notions. I'm not going to be swayed by the psychological impact of what other people think I should do and how I should trade. Look at social media. I was gone for today, and I'm seeing people argue about me when I have said nothing. People are upset with me, and I haven't done anything. Now, I can cause a bunch of chaos, and I don't mind if they're talking about it then, but if I'm not even around, if I'm staying in my own lane, focusing on my family, people, it's not fair. I got to deal with you. I haven't done anything. And if it's not that, it's somebody else out there pretending they created something when they just rebranded something out of my core content. Yeah. That's what the ghost has said. So I'm aware, obviously, that I have students. I'm interviewing them, obviously. I have several more I got coming. I was going to do one today. I had asked the gentleman to let me know if he was going to be available today at 1 o'clock, and obviously my family took precedence and I wasn't able to confirm that, so I'll have to do that next week. But I have 3 of them scheduled next week for a sit down and recording, so I'll stagger them going into the future, releasing them, but they all know that they'll be sitting with me talking. And they've done things like these funded accounts, and they've made money. So what I'm saying here tonight, don't let it discourage you if that's what you're doing or plan on doing. But I think that if you are going to go that way, one contract is all you need to do. If you can't lose $3,000, that's your max loss. And each point or handle in the ES is $50. If you're trading with more than one contract, you are exponentially increasing the rate of impossibility for you to succeed long term, because you're willing to take on the larger risk because the payouts are better. I can get more money faster. Well, that could happen. That could happen. I'm not saying it can't. But what also could happen is you could be human. You could be a little off on the day. And the market could also behave just a little bit squirrely. Do something just a little bit unexpected and color outside the lines that you thought it was going to stay within. And the day that you chose to do 10 contracts stings and takes a little bit of your backside off. And then you got to correct all that. And it now becomes, oh, I'm further away from the finish line. Now I got to fix this. Whereas if you trade one contract, regardless of what size account funding you have, one contract, that's a lot of wiggle room. If you only lose $3,000 and you're trading with one contract, you can be horrible in your precision. As long as you're right on your draw and liquidity and you're trading in the right time of day, you can still eke out profitability. You don't need precision. But you have to have precision. Like my level of precision, if you're trying to trade 8 contracts or more, and you can only lose 3,000, or you burn it, most of you listening aren't in that skill set. And that's not a knock against you and me saying I'm superior here. I'm saying that the parameters that they're trying to place on yourself, you may not be versed in trading, know yourself well enough, and maybe not even be able to do a precise entry continuously over and over and over again because you haven't done it long enough. You haven't identified when it's not likely to be as precise as you would hope for, which is what I'm trying to teach this year by mentoring you with live data, teaching you how to read the tape. So why would you want to increase the likelihood of burning everything down just to have one good quick run? I got to step 2 real fast. Well done, you gambled.